High Vibe humans, welcome to another awakened and empowered women interview. We are celebrating Women's History Month by celebrating the women who are making history right now. And today I have Shayna with me from Sage and Lotus, and she is a Reiki healer as well as an intuitive medium. Really excited to invite her on here in just a few moments. And we're going to dive into 8 questions that are going to reveal how she overcame certain difficulties, what has really helped her heal and be successful on her journey. So again, my name is Brianna, also known as Breezy Spread Love here on Instagram, and I am excited to do this interview because I've dedicated my life to helping others heal. And I want to introduce you to some awesome, amazing women who have done the same. And she'll be joining us very shortly. Super excited. Throw up your heart emojis. Welcome her. Say hey to all the high vibe humans. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, thank you so much for taking time today to meet with me and to share your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I don't do live, so I'm trying to make sure this thing is up right.
Looking good.
Thanks.
Perfect. So for the high vibe humans tuning in, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, what you do, who you are.
Okay, so I'm Shayna, and I am a medium tarot card reader, and I most recently, just in October, became a Reiki master.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I was so excited. I actually finished, I got my certificate on my birthday of last year. So I was
Wow.
a little birthday present to myself.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. And so these are all like services that you offer to people.
Yep. Yep.
Great. So let's get to know you a little bit. Please excuse the paint. I've been painting things.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so what would you say are 5 words that you choose to describe yourself?
Um, let's see. Determined, passionate, busy. I'm always busy. Um, and my family would probably say loud. I'm very loud and high maintenance. I'm a Scorpio. So,
Scorpio, high maintenance. You know what you like, and
I,
you want that.
yeah, I know what I want.
Mhm. Awesome. So you're very hardworking. It sounds like you're really like determined and disciplined, and that you once you have a goal in your head, you really strive to achieve that goal.
Yeah, yeah. And I always give myself, I know that I really want to do something if I stick to it after 3 months. And especially I've been questioning myself even throughout my whole spiritual journey, is this something I really want to do? And now it's 2 years down the road and I'm still doing it. So I'm it's meant for me.
So you've noticed that pattern within yourself that like if you truly like something, you stick with it.
Hmm. Yeah, because I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to school so many times, trying to be a nurse and then trying to do this, that, and it just was never, it was kind of I grew up thinking that's what I was supposed to do, and I never really brought in that aspect to anything spiritual. And yeah, and then ever since I found this, then it's it's what your heart is, what my heart is calling. So.
Because it sounds like with nurse and like some other things that you may have tried, you've always wanted to help people and help people on their healing journey.
Yeah, yeah, I did. And I guess I just didn't know what area of helping people I wanted to do. And
Mm.
growing up, my family was very religious. I never really thought, spirituality wasn't really a thing in my family. And so and then I'm also Filipino, so they're they ingrain it in you where you got to be a nurse. you know so yeah, so that's what I always thought that I wanted to do. And I can't even tell you how many times I went to school and then I didn't finish, and then I would go back again a couple years later and try it. And then now, so many years later, I realized I didn't want to be a nurse, that's why I kept dropping out, because even though I wanted to help people, that's not how I really wanted to help people.
Yeah, yeah, you needed to find something that was for you.
Mhm.
And it probably took a little bit of bravery to go outside the box, so to speak.
Oh my God, it's like coming out. I feel like being spiritual is like coming out of the closet. You know, I like for the longest time, hey Josh, I see him here. My cousin on there. You know, I feel like for the longest time, um, like I didn't even want to announce that I was doing anything spiritual. You know, I was like so afraid of what people would think of me. Even like it was so stupid. I would be so afraid of like what people in high school would think of me. And I haven't seen them for like 10, 11, 12 years, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like so stupid, but it's like you get all these you know, like insecurities in your head. And it really is like I tell people all the time, like learning all of this spirituality, it's like having to rewire my brain, you know, because like you have this your brain is like hardwired to believe that you're supposed to be a certain way when it's like says who you know, so
Hmm.
yeah, you have to just kind of go with it. And I've learned so much, you know, just continuing on this journey that you know, like who gives a shit, just do it. If it feels right, then do it. So
Right. At some point, you were inspired and you were kind of motivated to try this new thing. And even though you had all these like other thoughts working against you, you still persevered and pushed through and, acknowledging like, all right, well, what are these people going to feel like think
yeah.
of me? But at the same time, you're like, but I have to do what's best for me and my heart.
And exactly. And you know what's so funny is, like I said, I would be so afraid of all these people thinking a certain way. And I remember telling this to my sister one day, and my sister was like, why? Everybody that is close to you, like us, and you know, your husband, your kids, your brothers, sisters, like they're all on your side. So what are you worried about? You know, and like when she told me that, it just kind of clicked like, duh, you know, why don't I just keep going? Just keep going forward.
Right? The people who mind don't matter, and the people that don't mind matter.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. It's like, and like I said, if it feels right, you're not doing anything wrong.
Awesome. So it sounds like, you've probably been inspired by a few people along your journey. So who would you say is your favorite mentor, either past or current?
You know what? I don't know if I have a favorite mentor. I feel like, I just feel like everybody inspires me. You know what's so amazing? Like I just, posted on my story, I think last week about inspiration because ever since, like how I told you, I was so afraid to do like anything spiritual online. And then when I finally started opening up, I legit had like in the last 2 months, had like 5 people tell me that I inspire them. And I was like, what? I don't inspire nobody. You know, I'm just doing it. And so like, what I think is so amazing is like you don't really think about that, right? Like I have so many people that inspire me. I don't think I have like just one mentor. Like, you know, like even just the people closest to me, like my husband, my brothers and sisters, my mom. And then like for example, even you, like I even told you the other day, I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared to get on lives. I don't do lives, you know? And like by you doing this, bringing me on, this is like literally the second time I've got on a live. And like it feels like so you know, like so much relief. And I wouldn't have done that had I not, like, you know, had you not asked me. And, you know, so there's like so many people that are like put in your lane just to help you out. And I feel like everybody, like, we're all each other's mentors, just sharing everything that we're doing together, you know?
Yeah, that's the beauty of the world that we live in today is that we're all kind of interconnected. So we all have this opportunity to share. And it sounds like, you had the similar experience to me where you never know who you're touching. You never know who you're inspiring. But just by putting your authentic self out there, someone else is like saying, oh, if they can do it, I can do it, and we never
Exactly.
know.
It's so true. And like my biggest fear was always like, oh my God, what if I go live and nobody shows up? And then like you have to get in that mindset of who freaking cares because they can watch the replay, you know? You know, so it's just like it's like I said, it's just like a huge like rewiring of your brain. And like, you know, it's a lot of like, you know how they say like you have like everybody has all of this like generational trauma, right? Like, where did this come from for it to be so embedded in my brain like this, for me to be afraid to be who I am, right? And so yeah, it's just a lot of like having to go in and just and even with the inspiration, like I was so surprised when people would tell me that I inspire them. And then it kind of like brought to me like, dang, I don't even tell the people that inspire me that they inspire me. Like, like for example, like because like right, like even like I'll say like my sisters inspire me, right? But do I really tell them that? No, because but when people told me that, it made me feel good. So why don't I do that? Right? So
So it's like that act inspired you to like remind people who inspire you that, oh, thank you so much.
it is. It is. It's such a nice feeling, and it reminds you that like that's something that I wasn't doing, and I should start doing it more.
That's a really powerful message and like a great takeaway. Like you don't necessarily need to have just like one mentor when
Mhm.
you can embrace the inspiration that life offers you.
Yeah, and I feel like we're all in a way like mentoring each other. I always like to say that like I'm a forever student. There's always like, even though like I always think like how I told you, like, yeah, I just became a Reiki master, but what does that really mean? Like, I don't know all there is to know about Reiki. Like, there's so many different versions. I'm still learning, like I'm still a forever student. I want to learn everything there is about, anything. And it's like, yeah, there's just like so much inspiration going around, and we should all, it feels good to just all share and help each other.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities to switch from student to teacher and then back to student again. And I like that. I love that philosophy of being a forever student and like continuing to learn. And you've got lots of high vibe humans tuning in, throwing up their heart emojis.
Yeah.
So let's dive deeper. And would you feel comfortable sharing an experience where you may have dealt with a difficult issue or a difficult person and how you handled that?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, when I first started this journey, I didn't know what kind of a response I was going to get. And sure enough, most of it, I will say 99% of all of my responses have been great. But of course, you're going to have, that one that's going to go against you. And I actually even had someone tell me that I was like part of the Illuminati and I was doing the devil's work. And, and that what I think was hard for me, because it was what I was scared of the whole time. And even though it was legit like just the one person, it's still like something that you were, that I was so afraid of the whole time. So um I actually talked to one of my mediumship, one of my classmates that were in my mediumship courses, and they made a really great point to me. They explained it like, before we level up, imagine like when we get to the next level in our journey, right? You really need to make sure that before you walk through that doorway, that you're ready for that next level in your journey. And when you walk through that doorway, you are presented with all of these negative thought, not thoughts, but like, just like this person that I experienced. And that person was put in front of me to see, am I ready for that next level? Because if I am, then this is not going to bother me. Right. And so that like really opened my eyes, like, oh my, there's going to be people like that. You can't prevent it. You can't control people, but you can, what's that saying? You can control how it affects you. Right. And so, yeah. So when that happened, I was just like, you know what? Whatever. It's one person out of how many that already showed their support. So kind of just had to let it go, which I'm learning to do. It's a lot easier for me to do now, but like I said, as a Scorpio, that's very like, it's very much on my learning curve.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to let things go. Like we kind of talk about like, oh, just let it go. But it's a process. Letting go is definitely a process. And I like, I like that realization, how your classmate described it. Because it kind of reminds me of when you're playing like an RPG video game and you want to level up and you're on a certain level and open the door to this dungeon and this boss appears. And so you walk through that door, but you have to defeat the
You have
boss to go on to the next level. Yeah.
right. And so I love that because I never really thought about it before, right? Like you kind of just go through it and you're like, damn, I got to deal with this person. But really, like that is how you level up, is like how those things are going to be put in front of you, those obstacles, and how are you gonna or how are you gonna face it? And if you can go past that, then you really feel like you can do anything.
Definitely. And I
And
love how the universe kind of challenges you.
that person actually apologized to me recently, so
Wow, kind of like full circle. That's amazing.
hmm
So, do you feel like these difficult experiences help you with your clients?
I do because you know what, even though we all don't talk about it a lot, we're all kind of going through the same things, even like even like with mediumship, or like let's even just say all this spiritual stuff, right? Like I've always wanted to kind of like normalize it, especially with my clients, because there's a lot of people that will think, oh, it's woo woo or whatever, right? And I like really want to show people like, look, I'm just a normal person, like I'm doing it. Like, why can't you? You can do it too. Because a lot of the times when we have that like insecurity about it, you instantly kind of step back and you're like, never mind, but if you show people like we're all just kind of the same, like, we can move forward together, and we can, like I said, like share our journeys, and we'll see that we're all kind of going through the same thing.
Yeah, I like that idea of normalizing it, like allowing it to be something to be talked about instead of something that's kind of like hush hush, let's just whisper about it.
hmm
We do want people to take their healing journey seriously, while having fun with it. And one way to do that is by normalizing it and being like, I'm a human too.
Exactly, and I think that's the thing, because a lot of people like, there are like so many different versions to spirituality too. It's not just like a one size fits all approach. And
Mhm.
so like some people might think like the mediumship part is scary or weird, but it that you don't have to like take part in that to be spiritual, like people like when you show them like what something might work for them, and something different might work for me, but it's all okay. It's not like we're forcing anything on each other.
Right. It's not an indoctrination. This
Yeah.
isn't some weird cult. Like you can come and go as you please. What philosophy do you resonate with in this moment? You're kind of speaking to that idea that we're all like evolving and we're all on different paths of our journey.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I really think we are. I mean, you see like so many people, like there's like this huge spiritual awakening happening, and people like you just it's amazing to me, because like I feel like growing up, or I even feel like just for me, like this started for me like 5 6 years ago, like when I first started like getting the messages, but I didn't really start pushing forward with like the spiritual changes until like 2 years ago. And so like with that, it's like even before all that, I try to think back and I'm like, man, I didn't really like hear much about spirituality, like even the crystal, or so it's like it's amazing to me, like this huge spiritual awakening that we're happening, or that we're having.
It is happening. It's all happening.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think that everybody's journey is a little bit different. And even though you can look back at your life and say, okay, so this happened and then this happened, and oh, that's kind of the moment when I really started to look into it.
Yeah. And what's funny is like I look back and like I guess I just didn't think about anything at the time. But like even like me and my husband, like we got married on 11/11/11. I wasn't even spiritual then. I just thought it was a cool number.
Oh, see, when you had mentioned that earlier, I was like, oh, that makes sense, but you weren't really
No,
into that.
I wasn't even like into all this stuff, and so that's why I always think like everything really does come full circle. And then like when you look back, you're like, oh, this is why that happened. So, and then you realize like, oh, the universe was like trying to push me in this direction the whole time. I just wasn't listening.
Sometimes that's how it happens. The universe will keep hitting you with stuff until you listen.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've been speaking a little bit about like, the fear of like what other people will think and like a couple other little things, but what would you say is your greatest fear and how do you mitigate that?
Spiders. I'm so scared of spiders, but even the smallest.
That's true. It's like arachnophobia.
Yeah, I swear to God, I freaking hate spiders. Like I will see like the smallest spider like across the room, and I will think that they can jump and get me. Like I freaking hate spiders. It's like crazy. It drives my husband crazy because if he's sleeping and I see a spider, I have to like wake him up, and I'm like, you gotta get it. But no, other than that, like a real fear. Um, I don't know. You know what? I know it sounds kind of weird because I'm into like I'm a medium and I'm doing like all of this mediumship work. Um, and it might be like I think it's like the selfish part of me, which is just something that I have to work on because I'm not afraid of death. But I'm afraid of going through life and losing the people closest to me, which I know is a fear of everyone. But I feel like because like I don't know, it's so weird because like I do mediumship readings and I help people through this, but it's just kind of um, like I've only ever lost one person very, very, very close to me in my circle. And yes, I've lost like aunts, uncles, grandparents, but I never had like that connection with them. And actually, this is like how this all started is because it was my dad. I lost my dad back in 2016, and that's when I started like receiving all of these messages and all of this stuff. Which actually, I think I just saw a comment. How did it make you
Yeah.
feel? Started receiving messages. And I felt at the time very afraid, and I felt very lost, and like I didn't know what to do anymore, And so I think because I felt that way, and I was able to get over it through like learning mediumship, all of the spirituality. That's why I want to help people. But I also feel like I still have this fear inside of it happening again because I mean, it's bound to happen, right? Like it's circle of life, right? And so I feel like because it's only happened to me once, I'm like so nervous for it to happen again, right? And I know it's like a fear of everybody, like duh, obviously everybody's worried about that. But I think, other than the spiders, like being realistic, that is kind of like I'm like I mean, I don't know. Maybe it might be a better experience. Oh, I don't want to say like knock on wood, but like, because I am spiritual now and I do have a better understanding. And maybe it could just be like, now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like traumatized because I wasn't like super spiritual at the time. And it was hard to kind of go through it. So yeah, that is, I think, one of like my biggest fears.
So, like the thought of losing a really close loved one, someone within your inner circle, and like how you handled that was you started to receive these messages and you started to kind of listen to them and explore what they might mean. And in some way, becoming a medium and looking into these mediumship programs kind of helped you deal with your grief. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think so, 100%. Because, the way it actually started was before my dad passed, I had a dream that he passed. And that morning I woke up to a message yeah, and I woke up to a message that he was in the hospital. And he didn't pass right away. He was in the hospital for about 2.5, 3 weeks until he did pass. But, the whole time I had this almost like a guilt, like, oh my God, I did that, I caused it or whatever, and I think because like it's never happened to me before, right? Like that was the very first time. And then it took me a very long time. So like how I told you, this happened in 2016, which this year would be 6 years ago, but I didn't start exploring all of these things that I was seeing because after he passed, I started seeing fog in my house. I started hearing voices and all this stuff. But I didn't really start to explore it until like just 2 years ago. And that is mainly because it just kept pushing and kept pushing. And then I was also, like I told you, in my head, we grew up in a very religious family. It was like already hardwired in my brain that this is bad. Anything that I can't see, and I'm hearing, it's bad. Like, just ignore it. Right. So
Mm.
very scared at first, and it took a long time for me to kind of like push through that fear and just like keep going. And like, I'm so happy I did that, because like I'm in a way better place now than I was at that point.
So it kind of like looking into mediumship and like working through those fears has kind of created this foundation, and you're wondering if this spiritual foundation will, like, hopefully, knock on wood, help you deal with the next loss.
Yeah. And I hope so. I mean, honestly, like thinking about it, I would imagine it would, because now I have a better understanding. Like, even I never even believed in like reincarnation or anything before. And like my whole like mind is like blown from everything that I've learned over the last 2 years. But I think it's just because like um, that one time that this happened to me, I wasn't spiritual, and it took me a long time to kind of just learn all of this. And like I said, it's the hardest part is having to change the way you think and change, unlearn what you were taught. And so, yeah, so I think that for me is like the biggest, the biggest thing. Yeah, I won't really
Yeah.
go.
Well, I just want to say, like, I'm sorry for your loss. And it seems like that loss was this beautiful moment or catalyst for you to begin a new journey. And
Yeah,
it helped you shift your perspective, like shift your paradigm, literally from seeing the world one way to really opening it up and seeing
yeah.
it another way.
And you know what's funny? I mean, I my dad's with me all the time. Even one time I thought he wasn't with me, and then I like wanted to, like, I was getting frustrated with my mediumship because he's always like helping me. And I was getting frustrated with my mediumship, and he wasn't there anymore. And then one day I was driving, I was like, you know what? Forget it. This is too hard. I'm going crazy. Like, I can't do this. And then he popped up in my head again, and he's like, well, I can't help you every time. You've got to learn yourself. And so it was just, it's amazing now because, yeah, like I said, he's with me all the time. When my brothers and sisters are going through things, like, I'll kind of tap into him to see, what he would say. But yeah, like, and it's funny too, because when he was here, when he was alive, like I said, my parents, they were very religious. And my dad, when he was alive, he would always tell me, like, don't you ever like talk to spirits or anything like that, because it could be the devil pretending to be me and blah 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 blah. And then after he passed, and I talked to these mediums, and before I even started learning how to expand my abilities, he actually came through and he was like, yeah, I was wrong. He's like,
Oh,
oh, so
that's beautiful. That really is like really heartwarming, especially now you have like a literal like spirit guide. Like your dad is like this person that's always with you now on the other side.
yeah, yeah, he is like my biggest supporter, like even on the other side. So
So you just completed your Reiki
mhm.
and you're, really improving all of your abilities. Do you have a long-term vision? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I do. I want to teach. I want to teach people how to do like what I learned. So that's like my goal, I think, in 5 years. I mean, I think I still have a lot of work to do. I love like, giving people readings, whether they're mediumship readings or tarot readings. And then I also want to like learn this, like, long-term goals. Also want to learn hypnotherapy, because I feel like that's helped me too. Like, I've gone to my own, hypnotherapist to learn about my past lives so that it can help me on my current journey, right? So yeah, I just want to help. I feel like I like was meant to do this, to learn all of this spiritual stuff so that I can help other people with their spiritual journeys too. So
Well, sign me up. I'll be the first one. I
yeah,
would love to enhance my mediumship abilities.
yeah. One day, I'll let you know. You'll be the first to know.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that. And so you've been on this journey, you said, like kind of like 3-ish years, you
Yeah,
know?
it's so hard to say, like, because I don't know, I feel like I've just lost track of time with COVID and like shut down and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
like sometimes like I'm like I always say like all the birthdays that happened during COVID didn't happen because it's like you didn't get to do anything. But yeah, it started actually so I think I've been saying 2 years, but actually I had my very first tarot class in April 2019. So what is that? Almost 3 years now. And it's so funny. It's so dumb now that like I feel like when I explain it and I say it out loud, it sounds stupid. But I started off with tarot. I really like my everything that I've been doing, like my number one thing that I love to do is mediumship readings. Like I feel like there's so much power in it and there's so much healing in it, that was always my number one goal. Like anytime, like from the very beginning that I started this spiritual journey. But because I felt so afraid of people thinking that I was crazy and it was woo woo and oh there's this stigma that people have to be born with this and you have to do this from like get these experiences from the time that you're a baby. Well, it didn't work that way for me. I got kickstarted into this after my dad passed and I was already in my mid-20s, right? So I at the time in April 2019, I thought it was less crazy to do tarot cards. So now I feel crazy saying it out loud because I use tarot all the time, like I mean I have it here for my like Ible event. But like I use it all the time even when I need guidance, right? So like it's become like this part of me. But yeah, I only started tarot in the beginning because I felt like it was a little less crazy than the mediumship and I kind of figured I'd take baby steps.
Right. It's like tarot or astrology are like the gateway to
Yeah,
spirituality.
I feel like because like when the mediumship, I really have to trust myself because nobody else can see what messages I'm getting, right? Versus I felt like with the tarot, I could if I was wrong or if the cards were wrong, I could just be like, well, I don't know, the card said it, not me. So
Scapegoat.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So that's pretty. So what would you say is your key to success?
Oh wow. Key to success. I think just being a good person, honestly. It's all like about, how they say it's about the journey and not the destination, right? And like I said, like I don't even know like what destination I'm trying to get to. It really is just about the journey because I'm a forever student. I'm never really going to get to what I want to learn because by the time I get there, I'm going to want to learn something else, So I really think it's about the journey. It's about just being a good person and how you treat people. And I try to tell my kids that all the time. Like, you never know what people are going through. You never know, like someone could just be having a bad day and you don't know, what you could do to make that better. So yeah, it's just honestly, it's just being a good person just every day and doing what you can.
Right. Like, and especially if you make it a point to be a good person,
Hmm.
whatever situation is thrown your way, you're going to try and act in alignment with that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one way to define success for yourself personally is like, I'm successful when I'm being a good person.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's all we can do, right? Like you can just go through every day and really like there's no point in like stressing about the future and where you're headed. Like you have to just focus on here and now and what's in front of you. And I mean, at the same time too, we're all human, right? We all get frustrated sometimes and that's okay. But I think just like the overall picture, as long as, you have good in your heart and you have good intentions, then that's all that matters.
Definitely.
Hmm.
Definitely. So I heard you mention Ibble,
Yes.
and I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of plug yourself. So go ahead, let the High Vibe humans know how to get in touch with you and what events you have coming up.
Yeah. So I'm actually doing, I have an event tomorrow. I'm actually getting stuff together, but I'll be talking all about crystals, just how it's helped me. I want to know how it's helped other people. And then I'll be doing like a little mini card pull tomorrow too, just a little bit of guidance. And then my future events, next week, I'm actually going to be doing a free mediumship event on Ibble. So I'm a little nervous for this one because Ibble is like an amazing platform. But typically, when I do mediumship readings, it's like me and you talking live like this. And Ibble is it can be live, but it's a little bit more back and forth.
Yeah.
So I think I have an idea of how I'm going to do it. Um, and I think it's pretty promising, like just thinking about it. So but yeah, we're gonna try that next week. And then also after that, I'm gonna be doing another Ibble event. I'll do just a mini like little tarot lesson.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
That'll be great. So, if anybody wants to know, they can go to your profile to download the Ibble app.
just go to the link in my bio. And then it'll say Ibble or join me on Ibble, something like that. Yeah, or you can always, send me a DM and I'll explain or answer your questions.
Awesome. Well, I'm totally going to tune in for that one.
Yeah.
And if they want to get in touch with you, maybe send you a DM, are you available on Instagram? Do you have a TikTok?
I have a TikTok. I just started it though. I mean, I do check it every day though. So my main source is probably going to be here on Instagram if you want to get a hold of me. And then it's not on Ibble, but I do, if anybody's interested, I'm joining two other mediums. And actually one of them is an animal communicator. This Sunday, March 27th, we're going to be doing a live mediumship event on Zoom. So if any
Ooh.
you can send me a DM for that. I did post it on my stories yesterday, so it might be there. I don't know. Maybe it came off. It's only 24 hours. But yeah, let me know. Because that would be pretty cool. There's three of us. And no, you're not going to be guaranteed a reading, but you have pretty good chance. So
And it would just be a great opportunity to see how you work
yeah,
and to see what it's all about.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. So before we say goodbye, did you have any additional advice for anybody who's tuning in right now?
Um, No, I mean, if anybody needs would like any readings or any Reiki energy healing, send me a DM. It doesn't have to be like in person. I can do things, through distance on Zoom, that kind of thing. But yeah, other than that, I'm here.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I really appreciated
Yeah,
it.
thanks for having me. This was exciting. You gave me motivation now. Like I've been wanting to do like card pulls on Instagram Live, so we'll see. Maybe that'll come next week.
Perfect. I look forward to it. I love it. Thank you so much again for sharing your time. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in. Thanks for throwing up your heart emojis. Really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.